Hello everybody, it's Scott O'Mato back for another setup on Tinkers. And I'm continuing where I left off in the video on the Smeltery basic setups here. So you remember we had the one that had the two stacked Smelteries here. Well, I've expanded it out quite a bit now into more of a working Smeltery, kind of how I would want it in my base. And you just don't see people doing very elaborate and interesting things with smelteries. They just kind of do the basic stuff. So hopefully in this video, I'll show you some tricks, some things that you can do to, dress it up, but also make it functional. So obviously here for the tinker stuff, we've got all of the tools here for the crafting station, to a forge, all that kind of stuff working together here. And then underneath we have a part or a part chest underneath here that will be accessible from here for our parts. But then we've devoted this pattern chest to casts. So you can do that as long as you'll put a cast in the pattern chest. It can either be devoted to patterns or cast. And so this one's devoted to cast. That one's devoted to patterns. That one's accessible here in the tabs, whereas the other one isn't. So that's, a good little trick. Then another thing that I want to show you is that we can actually drain from the bottom. All right, you could put a faucet on the bottom. This has an area to put faucets on all sides. So here in this top smeltery, I have cobalt, and of course we filled it up already with cobalt. I have a hopper feeding into here, right? And I can actually drain. Now this smeltery is empty at the moment, but I can drain from this drain down into this one using the faucet, which is pretty cool. So I can drain off some of that cobalt, and that's how I can store my cobalt up at the top here, and keep it from alloying with the bottom, and then add it as I want to here at the bottom. So I could just sit and drain this and get this guy going again here. That's one possibility to move them between. So that can go from the bottom. I've really never ever seen anybody use that feature before. Then another thing you can do, which is been added back into Tinkers, and these are a little bit difficult to see, everything bleeds in, but these casting channels have been added back in 1.12.2. So now we can route the molten metal off into more than one casting table or casting basin as we choose. They're a little finicky. You got to kind of learn to work with them. Whereas these have to be allowed to drop down, then these have to be allowed to flow outward. And you do that by just clicking on the item, set the flow inwards, set side to flow inwards. We want it to be outwards. Set side flowing on side, set side outwards. That's what we want. This one's flowing down, all of these. Then I just have this faucet set up on a timer, which I like this timer from Vanilla Automation, which is a very small mod. But you could control the delay in ticks and then the pulse length of 20 ticks. And it'll go vertically like that. So that's pretty cool. So I just have it on the side of a seared brick and a lever to control it. And so it'll, in 100 ticks, it'll trigger this guy. And you can see that the molten metal will flow to all three of these ingot casts. So we're basically doing 3 ingots at a time, which is pretty cool. And underneath them, there's hoppers feeding into each other and going to this chest where they're being gathered. So you can quickly do your automation that way, and you could continue to expand out as you wanted, but this is nice and compact. Then I just have a little window in to be able to see. But that's newly added back in. So that's really cool. So we'll let that run for a little bit. Another thing you can do is you can actually drain from the smeltery into a tank. So if you go here and you set this up, then you can actually drain right into that tank, which is something, again, I've never seen anybody to do. I just figured it out, that you can do that. Then the other possibility is once we have some, which we do have, cobalt in this bottom smeltery, we've put some cobalt into there, right? I'm not sure actually where it went. It's kind of interesting. We may have, I'm not actually sure about that. Let me go ahead and turn this off for a second. Okay, let me drain some down. And where's it going? Surely not. Yeah, I'm honestly not actually sure where it's going. Or maybe I've got this turned on? No. See, this should pull it back up. Basically, the idea is that this will pull it back up into... Not actually sure about that, guys. Let me take this off for a second. Let me pull down. Used, free. Where's it going? Okay, it must have been being pulled back up. That's weird. So basically the idea is that you take this transfer node from extra utilities, and then you get a transfer pipe, and it should be able to be controlled by redstone. Maybe the lever needs to go here. I guess that's actually the problem. I moved it earlier, so yeah, the lever needs to go right there. Okay, now it should work. So the lever is off. Yeah, and here. Then we take the transfer pipe and hook up. The idea is that you have to pull from the bottom to the top, right? And so you do need an active system, a transfer node to do that. Let me just make sure that's not draining. I feel suspicious about it. See, I feel like it is. It's 68 ingots, used 3 ingots. Let's watch that again. I just not creative. See, there's 3 ingots. Where are they going? Ha! I've got a complex setup, sure. I understand that. But it has to be going somewhere. Unless I'm confused that this can't be controlled by redstone. Or unless it's the state of on that controls it. Anyway, I leave this stuff on camera, guys, so you could see what I work through, you know. I mean, there's no reason to pretend like we all know everything. We just figure this out. We just play with it. See what happens. All right, I'm assuming I know it can be controlled by redstone. So it must be redstone on. Disables it. You know, there's either those 2 states. So redstone is on. It's definitely in the block range. Let's go ahead. Put it up there. Okay, now let's see if it's being drained. No. Okay, so it appears that the redstone state of on for this guy, we should actually be able to see fluid going. Yeah, molten cobalt. Okay, so there you go. State of on disables it, turns it off. All right, and that's common in redstone stuff. So, okay, I figured that part out. Again, sorry for the slight deviation, but that's just how stuff goes. Now we also have this trash can. Okay, if you ever need to just get rid of fluids, you can just put it right in that trash can and that'll work, which is pretty neat. And then we have a regular trash can just for items. Okay. And then another thing is I have these drying racks, which are the same as the item rack. There's really no difference except as far as hanging items. So for instance, if I was working on this manual and pickaxe and just wanted a part of it or whatever, then I could just put it right there, hang it up. So it gives me a work surface, which is kind of cool. But it also acts as a drying rack. So I can actually make myself some food here if I want. I can dry my food on the smeltery, which makes a lot of sense, I think. And so then I've got my fish jerky. So that's pretty cool. Or I can just use the other hanger there, for whatever. So basically, that's a good working setup, I think. I've got glass over the top here so I can see in. I've got the chimneys from the Advanced Chimneys mod. So I've got a coal chimney here and at the top. Now, they're not technically connected, but it forces it to flow into that block so it looks like it is, close enough. Now the smoke, instead of just flowing out the side there, is now being channeled up into this chimney, which looks a little better, I think. So that's basically it. One more thing I do want to mention is that you can make buckets. It'll flow down into here, so I would actually need to pull it out of there. So if I just wanted to turn this into a bucket, let me see if I've got 1,000, if I got a bucket in there. Yeah. Then we would just drain it here. And it's a really weird way of doing it, but that is how it's done. So I just put a bucket here on the casting table, and that gives me the bucket of cobalt. Okay. And then I think, most everyone knows that if you want to put cobalt back in there, you just click right there. And so you can fill it back up through the drain just by clicking on it. So I just added it back to the smeltery. So you do need to, it doesn't really consume the bucket, but the bucket's now filled. But that's how you do it. You put a bucket on the casting table and then pour a bucket over it, pour the hot metal over it. So anyway, that is this setup. Pretty nice, sorry to have to work through part of it here, but I'm all for it. I'm all for just saying, hey guys, this is what I'm working toward. It's how I come up toward the solutions and not pretend that everything is, I'm a genius on everything and I just work through it like we all do. So I hope you like that. If you like this video, please hit that like button, and my thing that I say, I got to remember, like, subscribe, and join the tribe. This is Scott O'Motto, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye. Have a great day.